Recently, the live-action version of Lilo and Stitch was released, and this new version changed many details from the original story. Several characters were completely altered, and some were even eliminated. That's what we'll talk about here. Today on Charlietales, I will show you all the differences between the live-action Lilo and Stitch and the original 2002 version. Ready? Let's do it then. Let's start with the most obvious change, the elimination of Gantu. In the universe of Lilo and Stitch, Gantu is an extremely relevant character. He was the main villain of the first movie, and later a recurring villain in the animated series. With his constant appearances, he earned a place in the minds of the fans. However, for the new live action, they simply decided to eliminate him. Gantu does not appear, not even in photos, and he's not mentioned at all. According to the directors of the film, this was not accidental. For the production, Gantu simply didn't work in the story they wanted to tell, so the best choice was to remove him. But to be honest, most likely Gantu was eliminated due to budget issues. The new Lilo and Stitch movie was originally not intended for theaters, but for Disney+. Therefore, it only had a budget of $100 million. This is very little if we compare it to the budget of Snow White, which was $300 million. With this context, we can easily understand that creating Gantu, a character so huge that he required a lot of CGI, would have been very expensive. Another important change is Nani. In both movies, she is Lilo's sister and has been taking care of her since their parents died. In the animated version, Nani's character arc only focuses on her desire to be a better sister to Lilo, and in the end she achieves her goal when she's allowed to stay with her forever. On the other hand, in the live action, they introduced a storyline about Nani's academic career. We are told that she was a star student and athlete, but had to give it all up to take care of Lilo. This is very interesting because it completely changes the ending of the story. When everything ends, Nani is willing to continue caring for her sister, but Lilo tells her she should go finish her studies. Lilo loves her sister so much that she's willing to let her go so she can fulfill her dreams. This is a more updated version of family love. They're telling us that they will always be together, even if they live far apart. And they're also telling us that Lilo, despite being very young, appreciates the sacrifice her sister has made for so many years. The movie did change Nani, but the result was very effective. Another important change was the new characters, the live-action created characters that didn't exist in the original work. The most important is Tutu, Lilo's neighbor. She is a sweet woman who behaves like an adoptive mother to the protagonists. At the end of the movie, she adopts Lilo so Nani can leave the island to study. This character didn't exist at all in the original version, but it was an interesting addition because she represents the message of the movie well. Just like Stitch, Tutu is considered part of the family even though she's not related by blood. This shows us that families can be formed in many different ways. According to the screenwriter Chris Bright, he created this character for an important reason. He says that if two girls really became orphans in Hawaii, they wouldn't be abandoned by their friends and neighbors. Surely there would be adults who would try to support them. That's why they designed this woman. Another major difference was the appearance of Jumba and Pleakley, who look like humans for most of the movie. In the 2000 animation, both characters infiltrated using simple disguises, but always kept their alien bodies. On the other hand, in the live action, they use a camouflage system that turns them into real humans. This change is understandable since in a live action, it would look a bit ridiculous to see aliens disguised as humans. That wouldn't fool anyone. The explanation makes sense, but to be honest, the reality is that they probably made this change as a way to save on budget. Another extremely important change was Jumba. In both movies, he was Stitch's creator. He's an evil scientist who is forced to go to Earth to capture his escaped experiment. In the new adaptation, Jumba works as the main villain of the story and is the one the protagonists must defeat. This is a total change from the original material. Jumba was never truly a villain. Near the end, he became close to the protagonists and helped them face Gantu, and later, he becomes part of the family. Jumba is even very paternal with Lilo and Stitch. The kindness of this character is key in the universe of the franchise. Most likely, in the new movie, they kept him as the villain because they didn't have Gantu. I hated this change, and I hope that in the next movie, Jumba does switch to the good side. There are other subtle changes worth mentioning. For example, the origin of Experiment 627. In the new movie, it appeared for a few seconds in an image on Jumba's ship. This creature is one of the many experiments of the scientist. We first saw it in the animated series of Lilo and Stitch. Jumba created it as a being superior to Stitch in every way, and its goal was to defeat Stitch so that he would learn some humility. On the other hand, in the live-action movie, Jumba says that he is going to experiment on Stitch to turn him into Experiment 627. That means that in the new version, Experiment 627 is not an independent creature, but rather a more powerful version of Stitch. This is extremely interesting. If they go down this path, 627 could function as a transformation that Stitch will access in the future. It would be something similar to what we saw in the Sonic movie, where he can sometimes transform into Super Sonic. This is just a theory of mine, but it would be interesting so that Stitch can have more power to face new rivals in the future. That way, they wouldn't have to limit him to his normal form all the time. I want to talk about another small but curious change. In both movies, there are funny scenes that show a man dropping his dessert. In the original movie, the man drops a mint chocolate chip ice cream, whereas in the 2025 movie, they changed the ice cream to a multicolored Hawaiian shave ice. For this decision, the production worked with a Hawaiian consultant who confirmed that shave ice was a more common option in Hawaii. A subtle detail, but appropriate. Another completely altered character is Agent Cobra Bubbles. In the original movie, he was a former CIA agent who worked on the island as a social worker. He constantly showed up at Lilo's house to see if she was being properly cared for. On the other hand, in the live-action version, Cobra Bubbles is an FBI agent who arrives on the island pretending to be a social worker. It seems the same, but there is a key difference. In the animated version, Cobra Bubbles had several scenes showing concern for Lilo's well-being. This built his character and gave meaning to the ending, when we see him defend Lilo so she can stay with Nani and Stitch. On the other hand, the current version was never a real social worker. He barely met Lilo and didn't spend time with her. This is relevant because at the end, he stays to take care of Lilo, as if he were her father or something like that. We even see him in the same house. This loses a lot of meaning, since, as I said, he never shared time with her. With the animated version, it would have made more sense for Cobra Bubbles to stay and take care of her. The strange thing is that this change wasn't necessary. The current movie introduced a woman as the social worker who watches over Lilo, and then she is replaced by Cobra Bubbles. I didn't see the point of including this woman in the story, since she quickly loses relevance. It would have been better to place Cobra Bubbles from the beginning as the social worker. That would have improved his relationship with Lilo, and everything would have been better connected. They should have let Cobra Bubbles be the same as his animated version, since that worked well. That's all for today. If you liked the video, you'd really help me out by leaving a like. That would be legendary. Also, remember to subscribe to see more videos like this. Thanks for listening. My name is Charlie, and I'll see you in the future.